Good evening, everyone. Hello. Welcome to Willingness Wednesday. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to be here. Uh, First of all, I want to say Happy New Year. I wanted to do this last week, but about 4 o'clock on Wednesday, I got the notification that there was a storm brewing close to where I live, and I would have to travel through that city to get home. And so they were expecting like 8 to 10 inches of snow in West Virginia. And so I had to jump up, pack up, and hit the road so that I could get in front of the storm. And I really, really regretted not being able to be here with you all, but I know I needed to do the right thing so that I could be safe. And I know that's what you want from me, right? Of course. All right, so if you are new, I want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you are returning, I want to say thank you so much for your love and your support. Thank you. You know I couldn't do this without you. I tell you what, last year was such an amazing year. 2021 was such an amazing year for manifesting, for understanding Stephen Covey's 7 habits of highly effective people and how to apply those principles to your life. We did emotional intelligence as a series. We also did Deepak Chopra's 7 spiritual laws for success. And I applied all of that to my life. And I'm so happy to report all kinds of wonderful things happening in my life. Oh my goodness. I have just been so blown away, almost overwhelmed with God's goodness. Over the last 3 months, I've had 4 jobs. I've been offered 4 positions, and I finally settled in on the one that was best for my career. Was approved for buying a home, and I put an offer on a home. And January 1st, I got the news that my offer was accepted, and so now we're going through the home buying process. I tell you what, 6 months ago, the life that I have now, I was only dreaming of it back then, and it's just so amazing how I was able to trust God and put these principles into effect in my life and then have a most magnificent harvest as a result. I am just really, really grateful for all of the new information that I'm learning and to see that it actually works. I mean, not that I didn't think it would work, I knew it would. I just didn't know how well it would work. Oh my goodness, who knew I was a manifester? And so are you. I want you to know that if I can do it, you can do it too. And so I'm just really, really so thrilled about coming to you tonight about moving forward for 2022. So I was thinking and praying and meditating because you know that's what I do. I always seek God for the knowledge of His will and the information that He wants me to share with you. And so far, we are still sticking with the same theme, and I don't ever plan on telling you anything any differently than the fact that you are a spiritual being. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. You are multi-dimensional and you have supernatural power. And I tell you what, if you don't believe it, believe that I believe it, and just jump on in here so that we can get you rolling with the more meaningful life that you deserve, with the spiritual awakening that's ready for your life. I tell you what, if you are ready to embark on a new series, I have just the one for us. I figure the 4 agreements would be a great way to get started in 2022. Having the 4 agreements under our belt in January and February, because I believe it's going to be at least an 8 week series. Tonight, we're going to do the introduction, and I think there's like 8 chapters. And of course, we'll do a chapter a week. That's the way I like to do it, just so that we can dive in and get some of this juicy information so that I can share it with you so you can learn how to make a more meaningful life for yourself, so that you can realize that there's more to your life than what you already have. If you're not connected to the spiritual realm, if you're not connected to a God source for your life, then you are truly missing out on the best life that you could ever live. And I am here to help you with that. Now, some of you know, others of you don't, but we talk about things here that you're not going to hear in regular dinner conversation. I mean, who goes around talking about spiritual awakenings all the time, right? You're not going to learn this in school, although you should. You're not going to learn this in school. So we come here so that I can impart all of this wonderful information and knowledge and wisdom, because I do come from my own personal experience. Then I have some real wisdom that I can show you. I've made all the mistakes for you. You don't need to make any. Just come here and listen to how I got through my situations to the other side and came out feeling really, really wonderful about the experience. And not only that, gaining tools that can help me in my life. All righty. I don't know why that's saying low battery. Please excuse me. I don't want any kind of issues tonight. So pop it in there. I apologize, guys. Alrighty, so which one am I gonna take? Oh, not that one. Not that one. Hold on. It's dark. I'm in the dark. There we go. Sorry about that. I don't want to be in the dark. Don't want you in the dark either, but I just want to make sure that we plug up our power source so that we don't have any issues. I have such an amazing study for you tonight. I don't want you to miss any of it. So there we go. There we go. Plug on up. There. Awesome. We're back. All right. So tonight we are talking about the 4 agreements. Now, the 4 agreements is about a man who actually has a spiritual awakening. And so the first chapter of the 4 agreements talking about this man and his spiritual awakening. And so with no more further to do, I am going to just jump on in here and start speaking now about the 4 agreements, okay? The 4 agreements is a practical guide to personal freedom. This book is written by Don Miguel Ruiz. Now, the first chapter, or the introduction, is actually called the Smoky Mirror. Interesting, isn't it? Okay, well, you stick around so you can find out why it's called the Smoky Mirror. All right, here we go. So 3,000 years ago, there was a human being, just like you and me, who lived near a city in the mountains. Now, the human was studying to become a medicine man to learn the knowledge of his ancestors. Now, the only thing about it is he didn't completely agree with everything that he was learning. And in his heart, he felt there must be something more. Can you relate to that? I know I can relate to that. There was a time in my life where I felt like there's got to be more to life. Oh, there's got to be more. And then I found out what that more was. I had a spiritual awakening. But this isn't about me right now. So let's continue to talk about this man who wanted to be a medicine man living in the mountains. Okay. One day, as he slept in the cave, he dreamed that he saw his own body sleeping. He came out of the cave on the night of a new moon. The sky was clear and he could see millions of stars. Then something happened inside of him that transformed his life forever. He looked at his hands and he felt his body and he heard his own voice say, I am made of light. I am made of stars. He looked at the stars again and he realized that it's not the stars that create the light, but rather the light that creates the stars. I mean, after all, the Creator did say, let there be light. And there was light. And it was good. So everything is made of light, he said to himself. And the space in between isn't empty. And he knew that everyone that exists is one living being. And that light is the messenger of life because it is alive and contains all information. Then he realized that although he was made of stars, he was not the stars themselves. He says to himself, I am something between the stars. So he called the stars the Tunal. Between the stars, he called the Nakwa. And he knew that what created the harmony in space between the two is life or intent. That's pretty powerful, right? Without life, the Tunal and the Nakwal could not exist. Life is the force of the absolute, the supreme creator who creates everything. This is what he discovered. Everything in existence is a manifestation of the one living being called God. Everything is God. He came to the conclusion that human perception is merely light perceiving light. Ooh, I love that. And so he also saw that matter is a mirror. Everything is a mirror that reflects light and creates images of that light. Now remember, we are light. And so everything is matter, which reflects us back to ourselves, okay? So don't forget that little piece. That was so powerful. Now, in the world of illusion, the dream is just like smoke, which doesn't allow us to see what we really are. The real us is pure love, pure light, he said. This realization is one that came to him as a result of having a spiritual awakening, right? It changed his life. Once he knew what he really was, he looked around at other human beings and the rest of nature, and he was amazed at what he saw. He saw himself in everything. He saw himself in every human being, in every animal, in every tree, in the water, in the rain, in the clouds, in the earth. He saw that life mixed the Tunal and the Nakwal in different ways to create billions of manifestations of life. In those few moments, he comprehended everything. He comprehended everything. He was very excited and his heart was filled with peace. He could hardly wait to tell his people what he had discovered, right? When you find out something good, you want to go tell the whole world. And something as good as a spiritual awakening, of course, he wanted to go tell everyone how well he was feeling, the peace that he was experiencing, but he just didn't have the words to do it. Have you ever been there where something so supernatural or so wonderful has happened in your life that you were so filled with gratitude that you couldn't even find the words to express how great you were feeling? Oh my goodness, I have been there. I am there now. I am there in my life now. And so I can totally relate to this gentleman here who was having his own spiritual awakening. So let's continue to see what happens. Okay, so he tried to tell the others, but they could not understand. They could not see that he had changed. Oh, they could see, I'm sorry. They couldn't understand, but they could see that he had changed, that something beautiful was radiating from his eyes and his voice. They noticed that he no longer had judgment about anything. He wasn't judging people. He wasn't judging, neighbors or family situations. He wasn't judging anything. He was no longer like anyone else. He couldn't understand very well what it was, but everyone knew that there was a difference. Everyone knew very well, but no one could understand him. They believed that he was incarnation of God. And he smiled when he heard this because he said to them, "We are the same, you and I. We are images of God." But still, the people didn't understand him. He had discovered that he was a mirror for the rest of the people, a mirror in which he could see himself. Everyone is a mirror, he said. He said to himself, everyone, but nobody saw him as themselves. He realized that everyone was dreaming, but without awareness. Okay. And so as we move forward into the four agreements, you're going to understand this more. Remember, this is just the introduction to the rest of the book. So keep that in mind. Everyone was dreaming, but without awareness. Okay. Without knowing what they really are, which is light, which is made out of the stars. You know what I'm saying? So he couldn't see himself as themselves because they were a wall of fog. They still had foggy mindsets. They still had a foggy perception of who they were, of who life, what life could be. They were still in the fog. They were still in that dream. And that's why he could not see them clearly. What he saw was a reflection of them as they reflected from his light, and he was able to see that they were stuck in the fog. Woo! How many people are actually stuck in the fog, not understanding that they're spiritual beings, not understanding that they have access to the most powerful being in the universe. Like, not in the universe, because he created the universe. God, the creator, he can be your best friend. He brings the power to your life. He brings the supernatural power to your life, right? Okay, so we're going to keep moving on. I kind of went off on a tangent there. Sorry, guys. I just get so excited. I just get so excited. Okay, so they couldn't see him because of the fog. Okay, now the dream of humans, that's what that is. That fog is the dream of humans. Okay, that's what he called it. And so then he knew that he would soon forget that all he had learned. He wanted to remember all the visions he had, so he decided to call himself the Smoky Mirror. So he would always know that matter is a mirror. We are mirrors for each other. We reflect the light from each other, okay? And so I'm not sure why I'm having issues with connectivity. Okay, so we're gonna just keep moving on. I hope this doesn't cut off on us, guys. I don't know what's going on here, but I hope we don't have any issues with it. So anyway, he says that he's going to call himself the Smoky Mirror because he's looking at himself in all of you, but he did not recognize, they did not recognize each other because of the smoke that is between them, okay? And so the smoke is the dream, and the mirror is the dreamer. You are the mirror, and as the light, we reflect each other, we reflect off of each other. And so that's what he's trying to help us to see here. If you reflect from someone else and they are not awakened, they're still in a dream state, well, then there's going to be fog between the two of you, and you will not be able to recognize each other because of that. Now, if only one person is awakened, they'll be able to see the fog of the other person, but the person with the fog is not going to be able to see themselves in the person who's actually the mirror, the awakened individual. Okay, I hope that's making sense. But before we go any further, I want to let you know that if it's not making any sense, you can call me. You can dial 317-721-4315, and we can talk more about this spiritual awakening. We can talk more about exactly what the smoky mirror means. We can talk more about the fog, which is the dream of humans. I want you to be able to understand this as we move forward. So you can either call me or you can email me at b.vonsquires@gmail.com. Okay? Now, before we go any further, I want to ask you, have you had a spiritual awakening? Maybe you have. I'm going to give you some examples of a spiritual awakening, just so you can see if maybe you've had one as well. So, a change in perspective is a spiritual awakening. Feeling happy for no apparent reason is evidence of a spiritual awakening. Having a sense of peace inside in the midst of a storm. Woo-wee! Now that is a spiritual awakening. Being able to step out on faith, not knowing how it's going to be worked out, but knowing that it will be worked out. Now that is also a spiritual awakening. Now, if you have a clear vision for moving forward, you have had a spiritual awakening. Now, the feeling that something is missing, that in spite all that you have, the money, the material wealth, the property, the prestige, ooh la la, all of those things, and still you don't feel like you have a meaningful life, but still you are lacking purpose. Oh my goodness, I know how that feels. I was there for so long, but thank God that's not where I am today. I have had a spiritual awakening, and I'm so happy to talk to you more about it if you'd like that. And so, if you are feeling like your life is lacking in some way, if you'd like to learn more about how you can make your life more fulfilling this year, please call me. You can call me, and when you call me, just leave a message if I don't answer, and I'll get back to you. If you email me, just put Willingness Wednesday in the subject so that I know that it's from you. All right, guys, thank you so much for allowing me to be your coach. I am so humbled. Thank you so much for allowing me to bring this message of hope to you tonight about the 4 agreements. Now, as we move forward next week, we're going to be talking about the belief system. We're going to talk about the judge and the victim. Now, I do want to let you know that you're not going to be able to be happy and satisfied on someone else's belief system. And so next week, we're going to talk all about that so that you can decide if the beliefs that you're living by today actually match who you are. Or is there a disconnect? Is there some sort of challenge that you find every day, not feeling like you're actually connected to your life? If that is what you're feeling, it's because your belief system does not belong to you, and which is no fault of your own. Our belief systems were passed down to us from our moms, our dads, the teachers, our siblings, if we had older siblings, the preacher, the pastor, the priest, whoever you want to call him. We had our belief systems already in place when we got here. And so the belief systems that we have today may not match who we are. And so that's what I want to look at next week and help you to decide whether this is your belief system or a belief system of someone else. We'll talk about the actual agreements and how they are made and why it is so important to make sure that you know what you have agreed to. I think you ought to know. I'll see you next week when we show right back up here next Wednesday, 7:15 p.m. right here on Willingness Wednesday. I look forward to seeing you. And in the meantime, I'm going to pray that God will bless you real good and give just give you a sense of peace. I want God to bring you back here next Wednesday so you can learn all of this valuable information and knowledge that's going to help you navigate through this year. We're going to learn it in January, and then we're going to practice it all year. And then at the end of this year, we're going to have an abundant harvest. You watch what I tell you. All right, guys, until next week, I'll see you. I love you. Thank you for allowing me to be your coach. Mwah.